All right. Good morning, everybody. This is Book Club, and we're on chapter 4 of Get Over Your Damn Self. Morning, Lori. So, this chapter is What's Your Story? And up until now, we've been talking about your why and making sure you knew your why or figuring out your why and the difference between whys and other things. So, now she's going to talk about what's your story, which is how to talk to other people. um, Feel free to interrupt me at any time, and because I'll just keep reading if you don't. Okay. Before I can tell you how to talk to people about your business and your products or services, we first have to make sure you know how to talk about yourself. In our business, we're paid storytellers, so the better you are at telling your story, the more successful you'll be. It's important to know how to craft and revise your own story and how to edit your team members' stories as well. You also need to learn how to adapt your story to connect with the person you're talking to help show what's in it for them. So I'll explain to you why you should build an always growing story library. When we share about our businesses, we talk about our respective company stories, stories about our products or services and why they're different, the awards and rankings, media attention, and more. If you're telling those stories right, that should be undisputable fact. The last thing you want to do is tell stories full of bullshit. If you feel the need to embellish these stories, then you're either not well enough informed about your company or you're with the wrong company. While facts are important, they're not enough, not by a long shot. As the saying goes, facts tell, but stories sell. It's true. Humans act on emotion. Any psychology journal will confirm that humans are not rational beings, but rationalizing beings. We decide we want to buy something, and then we go looking for reasons why it's a good idea. We decide to start a business, and then we go looking for reasons why it's a good idea. Morning. All right, I'm having issues here just a second. A compelling story is what's going to allow you to draw them in emotionally, capturing their attention with why you wanted to start your business of your very own, what you've done with it or are going to do with it, and how someone like them can do something like this will create an emotional connection. A well-crafted story is wrapped in emotion. Did you guys think about that? It's so true. Because if you think about some of the stories that we hear people in this business, it's the emotion that people talk about. It's not the fact that they wanted plastic in their kitchen. It's the kids or the college, whatever else was going on. It wasn't the fact that they wanted to do modular mates. That's a good thing, but that's not what gets people into the business usually.
There's that whole nostalgia element of it too.
Yeah,
You see products that you grew up with that aren't part of the regular line usually. People are always scrambling to purchase those.
I know. When I'm in the studio and people come in, I would say 90% of the people that walk in there have to have some kind of conversation about the Shapo ball before they leave. It doesn't matter what else they've come in for. They can be looking for the grill, but then they'll see the Shapo ball, and all of a sudden we have to go down memory lane for at least 5 minutes while they tell me about it, which is great because I love those stories. First, though, there's something we must all get clear on. There are many business owners who call their story their why. They're not the same thing. As we discussed in chapter 2, one of the first things you do as you start your business is to declare your why, your reason for doing this business. You already know that your why has to be big enough and important enough to get you consistently building this business, even when you're tired, discouraged, super busy, and life gets in the way. But your why is not your story. It's part of your story. So as you develop or revise your why and write and write your story, please understand they are different things. The elements of your story matter. Personal short stories are formulatic, and once you nail the formula, you'll be able not only to craft your own powerful and compelling story, but you'll also be able to teach your team how to do it. Here's the formula: who you are and where you've been, what's happened in your life to cause you to look for something more, how you heard about your company and why you had to be part of it, what it's doing for you or going to do for you. These short stories are also short. We're talking 45 seconds to a minute, truly. So once you think you've nailed it, time yourself. There are a whole lot of people in our profession walking around telling short stories that have them droning on for 2 or more minutes. Remember, the person you're talking to about your business and your products is more important than you. So tell your compelling story and then get to them and their questions. Of course, you may elaborate on certain parts of your experiences later in your discussion to answer quick questions or prove a point. But your story has to be quick, compelling, and with nothing redundant or superfluous in it. So I did highlight the person you're talking to about your business and your products is more important than you. Because I think sometimes we get to talking about ourselves and we forget what it was we initially started out to do, which was talk to them about what they wanted. And we do it, I think, with even with the other people that we work with in Tupperware. We forget that when we're trying to talk to them or help them out with something, we're trying to help them, not tell them about ourselves. So when I started my business, here was my short story. I've broken it into the corresponding short story elements. 1, who you are and where you've been. I've been tied to the billable hour and at the beck and call of my clients my entire career, first as a lawyer and then as a PR exec. 2, what's happening in your life caused you to look for something more. But as a mom of 2 little ones, I wanted more flexibility to be my own schedule and to make more money to get further ahead. It's a tall order for a working mom, but I found a way to have it. 3, how you heard about your company and why you had to be part of it. My PR client introduced me to my company. She was funding the business she hired me to promote through her side gig with my company. I immediately recognized this was a way to build my exit strategy from corporate America to the lifestyle I really wanted. And 4, what it's doing for you or going to do for you. I'm excited to grow a team and a customer base around my PR practice, the kids, and all the other things on my plate to create the lifestyle I really want. And I'm excited to help others have more options too. Here's how it all flows together. I've been tied to the billable hour and at the beck and call of my clients my entire career, first as a lawyer and then as a PR exec. But as a mom of 2 little ones, I want more flexibility to my own schedule and to make more money to get further ahead. It's a tall order for a working mom, but I found a way to have it. My PR client introduced me to my company. She was funding the business she hired me to promote through her side gig with my company. I immediately recognized that this was a way to build my exit strategy from corporate America. I'm excited to grow a team and a customer base around my PR practice, the kids, and all the other things on my plate to create the lifestyle I really want. And I'm excited to help others have more options too. What have I done in that story? I've drawn them into my life, where I was, what I was feeling, and what I wanted, and also where this was going to take me. Were you drawn in? Was there anything in there that you could relate to? Most likely. Not all of it, of course, but certainly some aspects. Could I have said a lot more? Sure. But at 49 seconds, it gives a strong foundation for our discussion. If the person I'm talking to is a mom or a career person or former career person who has dealt with that elusive life balance we all seek, or someone who looking to get further ahead or who knows people like this, I'll make enough of a connection with them to get them to sit up and actively listen. Here's what you should leave out. What you should leave out of your story is just as important as what you put in. Make sure to leave this stuff on the cutting room floor. Things that are not essential to your story. I call this the extra fluff that doesn't really add anything. I was a journalism major and we were always taught if you have written 100 words but can say it in 50, cut it. It's the same thing with our stories. To cut this extra fluff out, you have to be ruthless with your editing. I know it's hard because we're all attached to our stories. It's who we are. That's why it's helpful to have your upline take a stab at it, as well as someone not in the business who can give you an objective edit, such as your husband, your BFF, or your mom. Suggesting behavior you don't want them to do. This happens all the time. It makes me cringe. Remember that with everything you say and do, you're teaching people how to do this business. So when your story includes, I heard about my company and immediately researched everything I could about it over the next 2 weeks, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Really, do you want people to do that? Don't you want them to review what you send them in an information email and get on a 3-way call and make a decision? What about this head scratcher? I used the products for 2 years before I became a rep for the company. Cue blood-curdling scream. If you were a product or service user first, I'm not telling you to lie about it. I'm just telling you not to mention it. Why plant any seed that they should use the products before starting their business? You can sing the praises of the product or service without implying that someone should be simply a product or service user before building a business. In fact, in our company, and especially on our team, we have thousands and thousands of people who relied on the clinical studies jaw-dropping before and after pictures, success stories, and our 60-day guarantee to jump in without using the products first. If the fact that you fell in love with the product first was instrumental in you joining the business, you can include something like, I love the idea of being able to have the best skin of my life, giving my body the best nutrition or whatever your product or service is, and getting paid for it. I'm a big believer that product stories shouldn't be included in your short story, whether you're brand new or an accomplished veteran. If you include a personal product testimonial, it will suggest to prospects and new business builders that they need to have their own personal product story before starting to share about the business and products. That's why my short story I used when I launched my business didn't include one. Heck, I started talking to people before my business kit arrived. A personal products testimonial, if you have one yet, can come out in other parts of your discussion. More on this a little later. Our short stories should all build to a compelling climax. When you're brand new and your story builds to what you think this business will do for you. As your business grows, you'll be able to share what I like to call quantifiables. Okay, so I sort of made up that word. According to the dictionary, quantifiable is an adjective, but I've turned it into a noun because it describes perfectly what should be at the end of your short story. Simply put, quantifiables are the numbers that show growth and what the business is doing for you. Excuse me. By quantifiables, I'm not referring to all the incredible people you now get to work with, or the active social life this business has given you, or how this business has taught you to break out of your comfort zone. That's all fabulous stuff, and you may decide to include that in your 45 seconds to a minute. However, the biggest question people have when considering a business like ours is some variation of, does this business model actually work, and can I do it too? So while some people may in fact join you for the warm and fuzzy side benefits, which have been amazing, the majority will want to commit their own turnkey business to pay for something. To quote the legendary Cuba Gooding Jr. in the movie Jerry Maguire, show me the money. In our business, the Code of Ethics of the Direct Selling Association prohibits us from disclosing the actual dollar amount of our earnings. However, we can paint the picture of how we're growing and what we're earning through illustrating and explaining that the paycheck is allowing us to do over what time frame. Great examples include what you're able to pay for. I'm covering all the kids' activities. Or how it stacks up to your former job or your job. I've been in business just 10 months and I'm already earning half of what I earn in my full-time job. After my first month in business, I was able to add some very compelling quantifiables. After just a month in the business, I have a group of happy customers whose skin is changing. I earned back my investment and made our car payment. After my second month, my story built to this crescendo. In my first month, I was profitable and made my car payment. Now, after just 2 months working my business around my busy life, I've grown a team of 6 in Montana and California. I have happy customers in 4 states. I've earned bonuses and 3 promotions and just paid our mortgage. Now, those are quantifiables to get someone's attention. Sorry, I'm reading the comments, making sure I didn't lose anything. Okay. I overslept. If you donate time or money to charitable causes because of your business, you should include that. Because I was able to quit my day job, I'm now able to volunteer a few hours a week at the hospital. Or I'm able to support an organization that empowers marginalized women in third world countries. Even if philanthropy is your primary reason for building your business, however, I strongly believe you should still include the monetary quantifiables. Your story can be a great launching point for further discussion. If the last part of your story is, I'm able to pay all our household bills with my check, which gives us more money for our vacation fund, imagine how you could turn the conversation to the other person by asking, if you had extra money coming in to cover living expenses, what would you love to be able to do? Your story will evolve. Because your business will grow, your story will evolve. Take a few minutes and review it every month after your earnings come in. As you have more and more conversations and get more comfortable talking about your business, you'll have greater insights as to what part of your story are most compelling and what aren't. You'll also find as you get more comfortable and start experiencing success, you may be willing to be more authentic with your story. I've seen many times that a business partner's first story isn't the real one, but it took a little while for them to be okay with the vulnerability that comes along with telling their truth. But your power lies in your truth. Every single time one of our business partners reworked her story to reveal her true story, she started attracting more people and growing faster. People are drawn to authenticity, so don't be afraid to share your real story, even before it's totally comfortable to do so. Let's take a look at our business partner and friend Leighton Griffith's story of evolution. When she started her business, it was girl works in politics for a decade, girl decides to have a baby, shifts to being stay-at-home mom. Girl gets presented opportunity and realizes how incredible it is. Girl jumps in, does well, is excited that her husband, who loves his job, will be able to stay with it as long as he wants and not have to chase a paycheck as our needs and dream grow. Not bad. But her close friend and fellow business MVP, Lauren Myers, one day pointed out to her that it was weak sauce. Leighton agreed that it was just meh, but argued that she didn't have some deep, dark desperation or cause that she's driven to. But Lauren challenged her. Because she knows me well, Lauren reminded me that I did, in fact, have a story and that it was just a matter of forcing myself to be more vulnerable. Which is funny because I'm an open book, but for some reason, I wasn't being open and honest when it came to this. Leighton's story then got real. Now, when I share my story, it starts with the decade in politics, switching gears to being a stay at home mom, then to being 4 months pregnant with our second child when my husband had a major career upheaval. Since I'm the product of two bankers and was bringing in an income, wasn't bringing in an income, I was terrified. In the 4 months my husband spent thoroughly weighing his options and searching for the best and happiest fit for him, we depleted every penny of our emergency fund. I probably wouldn't have given this opportunity as much consideration as I did when it was presented had we not just gone through that very scary year and we're still enduring the very slow process of building that emergency savings with now 2 mouths to feed and a new job that initially paid my husband considerably less than he had previously been making. But seeing how happy he was, how appreciated he was, and as a result, how happy we all were, I never wanted him to be forced to leave a job that was so rewarding to chase a paycheck. This business was the opportunity to help us build back that safety net and handle the surprise expenses that have come up. Now I've set the goal to match my husband's income, which is substantially more than the salary he left, which he is so excited about. And in the process, we'll have built up our savings to greater than it was when we needed it so badly just 4 years ago. We have security, which is invaluable. Leighton's much more connected to her story now, and she can tell that the people she is talking to are more engaged as well, which has made reach outs more fun and a lot more productive. Her courage to be authentic and vulnerable was definitely a big contributing factor to her accelerated growth that got her cute booty into a free Lexus. I need a drink. Look at all the people that are on, Donna.
I know, and I love this book, Jenny.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Fun book.
I'm listening
Hi,
to.
Tam.
Hi. I'm on the other side. I'm on mom duty.
It's a thing.
And just tell Mom we all said hi.
All right, I will.
And just so you guys know, if you missed the other recordings, we started on January 11th. So the recordings are in the units on Champion. So like I know some of my people work, so I've been tagging them. So if there's other people that you want to listen to the recordings and the discussion, tag them in the units. I think it's unit 5. Just
I think somewhere in there. It just says book club though. So yeah.
yeah, it says book club. So
Everything we've done
Listen
with
to
this book so far is in there, which is
yeah.
so. Okay. Oh, here's how to talk about a slow start. What if you've been doing this a while without a lot of success, but you've decided to ramp it up? Again, I always go for authenticity, so tell the truth. Maybe your truth is, for the last year, I've loved the wholesale discount and home-based business tax deductions, but I've treated it like a hobby. I'm surrounded by success stories of what can happen when you treat this like a business, and I'm ready to run. I'm looking for people to run with me. Are you one of them? Or, when I started, I really got in my own way. I wasn't coachable and I let fear get the best of me. But I'm surrounded by success stories of what can happen when you're coachable and follow the simple, duplicable business. Why can't I say that word? Duplicable. Okay, that's what I'm going to practice this week, duplicable, and she'll never use it again. And I'm not going to let fear keep me from reaching my goals. As you get more comfortable with your story, you'll be able to adapt it based on what you think will best connect you to each person. For example, when I'm talking to a stay-at-home mom who hasn't been in the workforce for years or ever, I downplay my high-powered career and focus more on being a mom who wants to have it all. If I'm talking to someone without kids and who has no desire to have kids, I briefly touch on the fact that I'm a mom to illustrate how little free time I have, but don't focus on the emotional pool to have more flexibility for my kids. As we've discussed, one of the biggest questions your prospect have is, can I do this? The best way to give them confidence is to show them that someone just like them is doing it. However, you won't always be that someone just like them. So the best way to show them is through stories about other business builders. I encourage, implore you really, to get disciplined at collecting stories, just like you'd collect books if you were building a library. Your collection should include all different walks of life, men, women, couples, various ages, and a spectrum of backgrounds. Here are a few to add to your library. Stay-at-home mom, professional with full-time job, working mom, single mom, lawyer, real estate professional, financial pro, flight attendant, teacher, social worker, student, medical professionals, doctors, physicians, assistants, nurses, chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapists, men, if your company is largely women focused, couple building together, someone who couldn't afford the starter kit but found a way and what she did with the business, someone with a first or second month success story that shows how quick ROI is possible. You'll be able to share these stories in conversations with your own prospects and in three-way calls. In fact, there's no greater tool to answer objections than success stories. Stay tuned. We'll cover objections in Chapter 7. I encourage you to create a culture on your team of sharing success stories. Make sure when you give recognition to your team members that you share a bit about them so others can add them to their libraries. Include success story spotlight in your team newsletter or team Facebook group. If you're lucky enough to have a company blog that features your colleagues like we do and great search functionality, read it religiously and make sure to share relevant stories with your prospects and new business partners. And here's a valuable side benefit to collecting these stories. You'll be constantly building your belief in your company and that you too can reach your goals. See, Diane Smith says, I collect stories from all of you. What do you think happens when a journalist goes to a rally or Zoom meeting? Yep.
Outside. Oh,
Outside, dog. Dog break.
sorry.
That's okay.
I thought I was on mute. I'm sorry.
No problem. What's your personal product or services story? As we already discussed, when you first launch your business, you may not have a personal product story. In our company, it's not uncommon to be reaching out and sharing about the business and our products before we even get our kits. When you're new and haven't used the products yet, be honest if someone asks if you're using them. I can't wait for my new business kit to get here. I was so blown away by the clinical studies, before and after pics, testimonials, that I didn't want to wait to start building a business of my own. Once you've used the products or services, you'll have a story of your own. When you do, make sure to follow the same rules we covered in your short story. As your company launches new products and services, use everything you can so you can personally speak to them. And just like when business short stories, collect a library of product or service stories from around your company. For example, I don't have sensitive skin, but I've been able to sell a lot of our products for sensitive skin because I've collected stories and real result pictures from those whose skin has been transformed. Facts tell, but stories sell. So the sooner you become good at crafting, editing, and collecting stories, the better you'll be at this gig. If you're constantly feeding yourself with stories about how your company and your products are positively impacting people, you'll increase your belief and you'll be able to inspire others too. So, what are our takeaways from this chapter? Ladies and gentlemen, don't all talk at once.
Well, I missed the majority of it, but I will say what I did just catch about people not, like, they don't know exactly why they might be joining, or, you know, having that doubt in their mind. Their big question, I think, is very true. A lot of people don't know if they could necessarily do this job or not, and that might make them more hesitant to try it. So I'm actually going to use those words in my life. Like, when I started, I wasn't sure if this was really even feasible, kind of thing. It maybe relate more to people that way.
Yeah. I think too, when she's talking about whether or not, like, the product stories, a lot of people are joining Tupperware right now with the virtual kit, and they may not have any products. And like our Tuesday night, the cooking things on Tuesday night and the demos the cooking demos that we do on Tupper Thursday, a lot of people that joined with the virtual kit, that's where they see the products that they want to put in their home because they don't know. You know, if you just joined and you don't know a whole lot about Tupperware, or what you know is you love the storage containers or you love the modular mates, you probably don't know a lot about the grill. You don't know a lot about the stack cooker. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. I didn't know it existed, honestly. And the only place that I really realized I wanted things from was when I was going to rally. And I would see people demonstrating stuff and think, oh, that's really cool. So that's, you know, and that's why a lot of times when we do the demos, Lydia posts the recipes for us, which is awesome. But we're talking about the product because they don't need to know how to bake a cake. They don't need to know the recipe for putting a box cake mix in the stack cooker. They need to know how cool it is that the stack cooker can do it in 10 minutes with that and a can of pop. So, you know, that's kind of where that's at. So you can talk about the products, but they don't have to have them to get started. They need to want them. Anybody else?
I really responded to the, fear in my own way, I've gotten my own way kind of a thing. It made me think about the fact that, it's probably time to retune my story and probably include that, because that is definitely a big thing for me that I know I've gotten in my own way. And I'm working really hard to make sure that that's going to stop. So, yeah. So I think I need to be a little bit more inclusive of that right now.
I sent a meme to one of the girls on my team last night that said, stop stopping yourself.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
I think we all do it in one area or another.
Yeah.
You know, you might be really good at one thing, but you're uncomfortable with something else. So you just stop yourself from doing it. I used to go to home parties believing that because I didn't know a whole lot about the products, I would convince myself that I at least knew more than the other people at the party. So I had that much going for me. Sometimes I did not, though. Occasionally I would run into somebody that knew more about it than me, and I would go, oh, well, you need to do this then. You know so much more about this than I do. You could do this so easily.
Exactly, Gina. I so agree with that, because that's what I was saying is, I collect all your stories, and Jerry wants to talk too. But, if I tell people that, yeah, I grew up with somebody who sold Tupperware during my childhood, but I didn't jump in until like a year and a half ago. People are thinking, what, she just ignored the Tupperware opportunity? Well, no, it's because I didn't think I needed it. I had plenty of it. But if I tell people that, my friend was a corporate, worked in corporate America and gave up a job, got out of the rat race and makes lots of money. And I have another friend who is a single mom and gave up her business to sell Tupperware, So
there's people have a lot of reasons to do this, and you just have to talk. And that's when we were talking at the beginning of the chapter about when you're talking to someone, remember that you're talking about them, not about you. They need to know a little bit about you, but you need to find out about them, about what they need, because that's what's going to bring them into the business or help them realize what they need to make their life simpler. And if all you're doing is telling them honestly how wonderful you are, they don't care. If, like she said, give it 45 seconds, but after that their mind has gone somewhere else if they haven't caught on to anything that they need or that you're interested in them for, I think.
Hey, Jenny.
Yeah. Hi, Mel.
Hello. I know back in the day, they used to teach us, have your commercial. Most people's commercials is, oh, what do you do? Oh, I sell Tupperware. So, then they said, do like an do like an elevator story, which is like 30-second story about what you do. Oh, I teach people how to make money selling Tupperware. Okay, so that's pretty generic. And then it was, okay, tell your story in a minute or less about why you started or whatever. And I met this girl, and she was selling, I believe it was Mary Kay, I don't remember, but what I do remember still to this day is her story, because she was, it was like, oh, what do you do? And it's like, oh, I'm into Tupperware, blah, blah, blah. And then she was, oh, I said, well, what do you do? And I knew she was in cosmetics, but I don't know what it was, but we'll just say Mary Kay. But anyway, she said, I help make people beautiful. She said, I know that sounds crazy, but it's totally true. I'm into Mary Kay, and my income has grown so much. I quit my job and I love it. And I was like, wow, the simple word choices. It was kind of funny that she would say, I make people beautiful, because that's kind of cracky. But then on the other hand, it made me feel so good that she was saying, oh, I help people make people feel, whatever. And I was like, you know what? We can do the same thing when we have Tupperware, we help people, you know, uh, we train them how to use our products, just like you said, the Micro Pro Grill. People look at that and think, I'm not spending that kind of money, until they actually see it working. Then they're like, yeah, I want it. So, I mean, saying I sell Tupperware is just not, I don't know. I just feel like you gotta have a chance to say more than just like this girl's teaching us in this book, to be able to, have say a little story about actually what you do for other people.
Right. And I kind of, like she said, she cringes when somebody says, I used the products for 2 years before I started, or I researched for 2 weeks before I did anything. Um, I find myself steering clear of the phrase I sell,
Right.
because,
Right.
immediately people are like, oh, I don't do sales, or, I never liked retail. And that's got nothing to do with anything, honestly. So when somebody says, well, what do you do? I say, oh, I'm a director with Tupperware, or, I'm a manager. Actually, one of my honestly favorite titles, because if you're not in the business and you don't know the titles, one of my favorite titles was executive manager, because it sounded so important. I said, I'm an executive.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm an executive manager with Tupperware, and we just help people simplify life in their kitchens and for their homes. And people were like, oh, and then they would talk to you about what they knew about Tupperware. But if I would say, well, I sell Tupperware, they're like, oh, I'm a nurse. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Yeah. They
I
look
love
down
that,
on
Jenny.
you. Yeah.
Well,
Exactly.
you're like, I'm listening to you with my story, and thank you, Jenny, for really pushing me to get on today.
Right, Nancy, but it's okay.
My story's old, and I'm sitting here listening to this 45-second story, and I need a story for me today. And what worked 25 years ago, the 4-step interview, that has nothing to do with a product. It has everything to do with them and finding out who they are and what they want. And it doesn't take but 15 minutes. But when I would print those and fold them and write it down and do an interview day, I would recruit like 10 people in a day, because it wasn't anything about me, and my story was short, but it was all about them. And that's what I think I've lost, is finding out about what people want today. And so that's why my recruiting is not good right now. And I need to pick it up and step it up. And I didn't know what to do, but I think it's my stories. Oh, I came in 25 years ago, and it's the same old thing, but it's not where I'm at today in my life. So thank you for making me get on.
Nancy,
So can you share whatever you
I was gonna say, Nancy, will you share that?
Yeah, because I have no idea what that is.
I feel the same way. Absolutely feel the same way. I took a little bit from what everybody's saying, like what Amy said about getting in your own way, and how Jenny said, the meme about, getting in your own way. It's so true. And I just was sitting here thinking, I have, you know, a core amount of people on in my unit that have been around for a while that are mostly, you know, discount divas. And I'm like, wow, I have to like remind myself like something about them that you guys said. So I really need to do those interviews, I think, and retouch out with people because I've been a little bit disconnected, I would say, in these last few months of homeschooling. But I'm a free woman now, a free mom now. And this is my first day officially like in my house by myself. And I'm like, I'm getting on that call today. So thank you all for being there. I'm so happy to see all of you because I'm about to like literally cry because I miss my kids so much. But I
Aw.
miss my business too. So I'm excited. So thanks, guys.
And
I'll
I,
see if I
I
can find that sheet and then I'll have to retype it because it's from 25 years ago. It was never on the internet, but it's probably out there somewhere, but I know I have it in my files.
Well, we
So,
have one, we had training, that's called the dream interview.
well,
and
this is a little
go-
different. It's a little different than that, but it's similar. I don't even know if you know
Or-
what I'm talking about.
I think that Loretta's got something out there too.
Oh, I've seen Nancy's. I don't think it's necessarily out there. Like it's
Old.
but you're only 29.
We're talking the 70s, guys. That's when it first was out, and that's how I learned to do interviews. And it's really old, but I'm a fast typer, so I can recreate it when I find it. I'll do that today. I will.
Nancy, the other thing, like knowing your story, a lot of it just from
being friends.
You have such an incredible Tupperware story because you have been in all facets of everything.
Yeah.
And now that, like older people, I talk to a lot of older people that are like, oh, I'm retired.
Ugh.
So they don't want to think that they're going to be super busy or anything else. And you could so tell them that you went from being super busy, even in Tupperware, to being able now to do it on your own pace and not have to be super busy if you don't want to be,
right,
but they still love it. So, and look, Nora,
I do love it.
Look how, well, I mean, not for nothing, look how old Nora is, and she does it because she likes it.
76, and she is still doing, well, she's not doing bingos now, but she said, oh, don't call me back because I'm sending a note with the sale flyer to each of my girls. She said, I do it every month, and then they call me, and then I place their orders because they're old, and I'm like, oh my God, Nora, if I had 25 of you, I would be at the top. Like, whoa. Yeah, it is different when you get older. It just is different. And so I have to change and to adapt my recruiting to that because I've not. It's not about the same thing as it was when I was young and, money and cars and recognition. And it's about money, let me tell you still, but it's not about all the same things. It's about my life. And when it gets shorter, it's just, you want to do what you want to do. And so people out there really, there's a lot of people, all my friends are retired and they're boring, like, because they don't have what I have from Tupperware. So I don't want to get boring. So,
no getting boring. But I do think, and it is like when she said that she adapts her story to who she's talking to, because so many of us, so many of you, your stories are about your kids or, making it easier for your husbands or wanting to get that new house or stuff. And then you get to a certain age where your next birthday is not 29 and those things aren't necessarily relevant anymore. Like I like to help my kids, but I don't need to put them through college or keep them in activities, things like that. They're on their own for that. That's their thing now. I can help them with Tupperware if they would like, and if they need more money, I can help them do Tupperware. But so a lot of that you do have to adapt to, people that maybe don't have kids or single people, where it can benefit them and why they still need a why. That I was truly talking to somebody last night, and she's been by herself. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't have kids. She doesn't have a lot of family. She also does not have the self-confidence to think that she deserves any more than going to work every day and coming home and binging on Netflix and getting up and doing the same thing the next day. And she's like, well, I don't want to do, I don't know. and I get that because I didn't know what I wanted to do either. Some days I still don't know what I want to do, but I have a better grip on it than I used to. So, but yeah, I think our stories are really important for reaching other people, and we have to know what they are.
Yeah.
And you can
Well,
use it.
I started asking my customers stories too. So like that one that I posted in Champion with that lady whose son is autistic or daughter's autistic and used the breakfast maker for the first time. Like a bunch of her friends reached out to me for it to get it because of that reason. So then I started talking to her about sharing the business with her and her friends. So we're talking now about possibly getting her in. So when you hear those stories from other people and turning that into recruit possibilities as well.
Morning, Odin. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, what I was going to say about the story, everybody thinks that their story is point, but I highly encourage you to sit down with your story and with a timer and keep it to, I think it was Jenny or Nancy that said it's an elevator, or maybe it was Melanie. It's an elevator version. Your story shouldn't be, it should be somewhere between 45 and 60 seconds. And I never did that except last year I did through our Chamber of Commerce, I did a round table, like a round robin. I didn't know what it was when I signed up. And then I realized that it was 10 different tables and you spend 5 minutes at each table and everyone tells their story. They give their commercial. I had to do that 10 times. I was so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, but I practiced. And you rethink your story is short. It's not. And you only have people's attention for that amount of time. So I do it in front of a mirror, and then you're going to realize, oh, I don't need to talk about this and I don't need to talk about that. But it should always be about how it's helping someone else. Yeah, you take trips and you are in cars and you're, ranked number one, but that doesn't do anything for other people. They want to know what's in it for them and what's important to them. And they want to talk about them. They want to talk about themselves. So the easiest way to find out about someone is to ask questions. Don't talk over them. Don't talk about you or talk about what you think they need. Ask them a question and then zip it and listen to what they have to say. And I think that's the hardest thing for most people, is to zip it and listen to what they have to say. And then take your story and change it into how some aspect of what you've done so far in Tupperware applies to them. And if it's not, then take part of Nancy's story or part of Jenny's story or Jeff's story, anybody's, you know what I mean? I think that's the key to reaching people, instead of just telling them what you think they want to hear, really.
Melissa.
I think the hardest thing is if you're talking one-on-one with someone and sharing a story, if you feel like they're giving you a blank look, which sometimes they're just absorbing it, I think I have a tendency to talk more and more because I'm like, oh, I'm totally boring them or that type of thing. And I loved what the lady that told Mel her story, what I loved about that is it was almost like a cliffhanger. You wanted to know, what did she mean she makes people more beautiful? So I thought that was really good because they're sort of hanging on every word now. And hopefully that would keep me from going blah, 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 blah. So going on, but I like that a lot.
Well, one of the things that we talk about, and it's like with dating parties or recruiting and things like that, is to ask the question. And then like Lori said, zip it, because first person that talks loses. So if you ask a question and they're taking a minute to answer you, don't decide for them that they're not going to answer and start talking again. Wait. And if that silence is uncomfortable for you, it's uncomfortable for them too. They're going to say something, even if, oh, that's great for you, I'm not interested. or just even if their answer is, I have a phone call in 2 minutes, I have to go. You know, but at least you've gotten somewhere. And I know what you're talking about, Melissa, whenever you're talking and people just kind of look at you. And I think sometimes, honestly, I think sometimes what we're telling them is like a surprise to them. Because when you say Tupperware, people think bowls. And you know, one of my favorite stories is the first year I was in Tupperware, my middle daughter told me that she did not want Tupperware for Christmas. And I was like, okay. So the other four all got Ultra Pro and she got something else. And she called me about New Year's and she goes, why didn't I get one of those pans to bake in? I said, because you told me you didn't want Tupperware. And she goes, I meant I didn't want bowls. I said, you should have looked at the book I sent you. And I made her wait till her birthday, which was the next December, to get Ultra Pro unless she wanted to buy it, because I was like, no, pay attention. But it is, it's not, you know, it's not a sandwich keeper. It's not, it's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. Ask Pam, she'll tell you. Right. They're waiting. They love me.
I'm around, just so you know.
A lot of times people,
cut
they
me
kind
off.
of know what you do.
Are you there?
They kind of know what we do. Okay, like we sell somewhere. That's what we do. Cutting out real bad.
Yeah, you're getting like every
Yeah,
other
you
word.
are. And she shows muted. I don't know how she's talking.
Which I think she's on the phone too underneath her picture.
Oh, because I'm like, how is she even talking? It's muted.
It's magic.
It's magic.
My go-to line now is I'm a Tupperware training coach. And you know, coaching is all so popular. And all of you are Tupperware training coaches. And so it kind of gives the package of your business because you're coaching other people. And that also opens up to how do I get coached, you know, and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and if you're a Tupperware training coach, then they feel like if they do join, you're going to be there to help them do whatever it is. I like that a lot. Nice.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. Tupperware.
She said we can use that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, you know, when people ask me what I do, and this just happened to me, and I always sort of had this, not that I was a private Tupperware person, but like meeting new people, sometimes I would kind of back off, like because I had another job before a year ago. And when people would ask me what I would do, I would stop and I would think about it. And I would always go back to my job. You know, I would say I'm a court stenographer. And then later I would be like, why did I say that? So now that I don't have that job, and I did retire, and I tell people that I retired because I did. And it just happened to me. I went to get an exam, and now with COVID, they get you in on the phone. You know, they check you in on the telephone. So she said to me, she goes, asking me all the questions, and she goes, your employer? And I said, I own my own business. Oh, you do? What business? And I said, I own my own Tupperware business. She goes, oh my gosh, Tupperware. I love Tupperware. And we have this conversation. I said, when I come in, I will give you, you know, my business card and blah, blah, blah. And it felt really good to say, I own my own Tupperware business. I mean, that's what I fall back to. I love Tupperware training coach, and I might start using that, but I never ever say I sell Tupperware because, you know, selling has this black mark, but everybody sells everything all the time. You sell to your friends without even knowing it. You go see a movie and you're like, oh my God, I saw the greatest movie. You should go see it. And, you know, or I saw this great thing on Netflix. What are you watching on Netflix? You're selling that show, you know, you're recommending it. So yeah, I you know, but people, they don't want to hear that you sell because, right, Jenny's right. They always say, oh, I can't sell. I don't.
Yeah, and if you have a hard time starting those conversations with people, and we don't get to go as many places as we used to, but one of the places that I do frequent is the post office. And I make sure when the post office even gave me one of those bins that say US Postal Service on to bring my packages in on. You know what? I have never started a conversation with the US Postal bin ever. But I take stuff in our big Tupperware bags, the one that say Tupperware down the side or across the front, because when you have the envelopes in there, they can't tell what it is. But if it's in a Tupperware bag, I have never been in the post office where at least one person did not say to me, oh, do you know somebody, you know, I didn't know Tupperware was still around, or do you sell Tupperware or something like that? And then it's a good way to start a conversation. I talked to an older couple in the post office a couple weeks ago, and she was like, oh, I love Tupperware. We've lost so much of it, but we're just getting ready to move. And we talked for a minute, and then it was their turn to go up. And I was like, oh, I missed that whole opportunity. So, because sometimes things just work that way, when they got ready to leave, she dropped her keys and didn't realize it. And I went over and picked her keys up, and I went up to her and I said, hey, you dropped your keys. And she was like, yeah. And I said, listen, if you need any help when you move, getting your new apartment organized, or you want to like downsize and stuff like that, I said, if you'll give me your phone number real quick, because she has a cell phone, I said, I will send you my business card on your cell phone so you have it. You don't have to keep it. And you can call me anytime you want to, because it'll come through with my phone number. And her husband goes, do you have a business card? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, give me the business card. I'll put it in my wallet because she'll lose it, but send her that card. So, you know, it's not, and I never did say, hi, how are you? I sell Tupperware, but I had the bag and she saw the bag, you know. So carry things that will do you good, that will start conversations for you. Because sometimes it is hard to start it, but if they see the word, or one of my favorite things in the grocery store is that blessed Shape-O Ball keychain. Because if the parents don't start the story, a kid will. They'll be like, I have that. And I'll say, I work for the people that make that. And they get so excited. It's like you've just told them, you know, Jeffrey the giraffe. Yeah, that's a Toys R Us reference for those of you.
I knew what it was, but I was thinking to myself, you know, Jenny, I don't know a lot of people that would necessarily know what that was.
And now Toys R Us is out of business and Tupperware's not. So
Jenny, did you read these comments in the chat? You might have. Like
Yeah.
Gina said, I think during heightened sensitivity to the facts, during these crazy times, people really desire connections and stories that sell and build those connections. So I can see how that's so important right now. I've always trained that's until you don't have your own success story. You borrow and share those of others. Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I
Becky,
think
your story that you don't want people to do.
Well, and the great thing is that there's so many of us that have been so willing to share stories that you can almost grab something from any walk of life to talk to somebody.
Jeff said, I make people fat. I love sharing dessert recipes for our products.
Awesome.
I would get some interest, Jeff. They would want to know more about that.
Oh, I share, like in my VIP group, like my ideal thing is, if we've got a product out there, is to share the meme of the product, not the price meme, but like the one from either Photographs or Tough Social, and then throw a recipe out there for it. And I'll do that for days. Like I'll just pick a theme sometimes, like maybe for 2 days, if it's the MicroPro Grill, I'll just start sharing MicroPro Grill recipes. But yeah, I'm always like, I'll start out with like, well, it's a dessert, so you know I'm going to share it.
I like desserts. I need to be in your VIP group. I like recipes. Diane says, I love to save people time and money. I have no time to waste. So yeah, carry that bag with you, Diane. The bag that says no time to waste. Let's see.
one thing that I always make sure that I tell people that I'm trying to recruit or talking with about joining Tupperware is I come with your kit. And that always gets them, it always gets a reaction like, really? And I always say that, and it's true. I mean, if you're going to join my team, I come with it. So, I'm available to talk or answer questions or whatever they might need. So I always say, I come with your kit. What, Jeff? Oh, that's funny.
Not you, me, Julie. Not you.
I read that wrong.
Yeah.
I thought you meant I would scare them off.
Your speed reading skills are as good as mine, aren't they?
That's cool, Julie. So everybody I'll join, I'll just say, well, Julie Jackson comes with your kit. So
There you go.
I'll
Okay.
give you her number and you got this. Let's see. Oh, Diane says that, yeah, like if you're talking to a busy mom, you could share Kelly's story. If you're talking to someone in corporate, you could share Loretta's. If you're talking to somebody that's having business issues, there's Ellen's story. If you're talking to somebody that, has a job that they like, but they don't want to do forever, you can tell them about Lori. If you're just talking about somebody that's crazy, you can tell them about me or Nancy. It all works. There's someone for everyone out there.
There's plenty of characters to just choose. Just pick and choose, right?
Do not necessarily use names. They may actually join, and then we don't want them to have any preconceived idea of any one person or another. So it's like, my friend. So, all right, guys. Well, it's 10:30. Anybody have anything else that they just want to throw out there? This has been really good. I feel like everybody got to think, and I think it's important. I think that are we still reading our thing because they're still in our 21 days for reading our thing every day.
So since the last time we got together, I thought of Melissa, and I was like, okay, so I have my book. I showed you guys the book, how I got the yellow stick-on pages or whatever. And I can honestly say I did not do it every single day, but I did do it maybe 5 times.
So kind of funny story. We read this book a few years ago and kind of did this. And I found my notebook from then. And I had written all that stuff down. Write it down. It's very entertaining to go back and read later. It's just one of the things was, where will you be 5 years from now if you don't do anything? And mine was living in my car because Pam and Jim won't still let me live here. But now I have a new car that I can live in.
I was going to say your car to live in would be really nice now. So
the heater works so much better.
Right. It all is for a reason, right?
So anyway, Diane says, I haven't put it in writing, but I've been working on it. Now I want to get out of debt and have an emergency fund so I don't go back in debt. That's an awesome reason. All right. Thanks, Gina. Have a great